Welcome to Scary Basement. Each week, me and my friend Roxy are drawn inexplicably and supernaturally to this basement, wherein lurks every scary thing that has ever been. And that includes a train going straight to hell, a bus going straight to purgatory, a car going straight to hell, and a lime scooter going straight to hell. I'm Mikey McCollor.
And I'm Roxy Polk.
Roxy, let's start out, as we always do, with the scariest thing we saw this week. What went down in your life outside of the scary basement that spooked you to your bones?
So I found out about a really terrifying space phenomenon this week that I didn't realize was possible.
Hey, space is scary. All right? Space.
It is. It's fascinating and terrifying, and I love it, and I'm also terrified of it, but then also know that we're probably going to die before we can even really explore it, so we're probably
either going to die before we explore it, or we're going to die in space, and I would say both of those are equally likely.
Yeah,
what
and
was the scary space thing you said?
In a couple billion years, Earth will be gone, and then everything humanity has ever made will be vaporized. Anyway, the thing is a triple galaxy collision. Do you even know that was possible?
I've heard of triple car collisions. That my insurance keeps asking me about details about mine. Tell me about the galaxy collisions.
Collisions? You commission that galaxy to do a collision. So apparently we observed one back in 2007, but it's like triple galaxy collision / merger. It's when three galaxies slowly draw each other near and near and then literally tear each other apart with their competing gravitational forces. So I can't even imagine what happens to like every single planet and sun and possibly alien friends who are no longer going to be our friends because they're burned up by the collision. They're all gone, and then they get reshaped into something else, and it is terrifying. And the fact that we caught it like on a telescope to like actually see it happen.
We were all too busy following the presidential race that year to even pay attention.
Well, the thought too is that like our galaxy could be one of those someday that will just encounter two others and will get absorbed someday. You never know. Who knows? Life is fleeting, Mikey. Let's enjoy it while we're here, I guess. What about
our
you?
Universe is going to forever. Universe. The scary thing that I saw this week was isn't so much scary as it is like thought-provoking, and the idea that tropes still exist, I guess, is kind of scary. I found a really great article from Inverse.com. It was written by Emma Flint. It's titled "Resident Evil Proves the Worst Trope in Horror Video Games Needs to Die." And it's this article explaining how a lot of horror video games use like a brutal and violent destruction of women's bodies as a horror trope that I had never really considered as like, obviously like there are some aspects of like, you know, one of my favorite video games of the last couple of years is a game called Tormented Souls, but it opens with this really gross scene where the main character, who is a woman, is just like nude in a bathtub and has like a thing down her throat.
Yeah.
And it really is upsetting to me. Like I was just really turned off, and not in like a fun horror way, in a gross, disgusting way.
Yeah, it's more like hey, let's sexualize the character you're playing as. Also, I think she does have like exposed nips, doesn't she? In that
it's just full on, like the first time, it's maybe the second scene this character is involved in, and just like, here's her boobs for no real reason. And the article that I read that I really loved kind of talked about it and sort of framed it up for me why that's different to me than other, like, you know, I love a lot of sex scenes in horror movies. I love a lot of gory kills in sex scenes. And what is the difference between the ones that make me uncomfortable and what are the ones that make me...
Yeah, it's the difference of this, the purpose it's trying to serve in showing it, you know, can be completely different.
The line that got me was, the implication is that the entertainment value of the act is more important than what the act says about the character that did the act's deteriorating psyche. And so it was like, oh, if it's coming from this characterful place, that kind of makes sense. But to linger on it and to make it like...
ogling it for the viewer.
Hey, check out these boobs sort of moment, that is like dehumanizing. So, it's a bummer that is a trope that I hadn't necessarily put together, that I was seeing a lot, but also like that it's still going on. And
it feels like one of those things you kind of like pick up on, but like don't quite know how to articulate until you've seen it like a couple of times. And this sounds like a really good article. Where did you say it was published on again?
We'll
have it in the show notes.
Inverse.com. Inverse.com, written by Emma Flint. Resident Evil proves the worst trope in horror video games needs to die. It's real great. We'll link to it.
Okay, cool. It'll be great. I'm going to read that after we record this too. Exciting.
And you know who is also going to read it, big on destroying tropes in horror movies, is the Demon Bot.
Here he is. Hey, Demon Bot.
Mikey and Roxy, this week you were assigned the 2014 film Annabelle, directed by John R. Leonetti and starring Ward Horton, Annabelle Wallis, and Alfre Woodard. Did you watch the film or your soul's forfeit?
Yes, I did in fact watch that movie.
I did as well. I watched Annabelle.
Good, then you may keep your souls. For now.
You know, I wonder if Demon Bot feels a kinship with Annabelle, because it is a demon inhabiting a doll, which I guess is a spoiler alert before we do the summary, but what do you think, Demon Bot? You know her, or do you feel some sort of kinship with her?
Well, we did go on one date.
Oh, really? How'd it go? Well, I guess if there's just one, then maybe not so well. But...
I would prefer not to talk about it, Miss Nosy Pants. Good day.
Okay, I guess we were kind of prying. I didn't realize it would be that sort of relationship.
Yeah, sounds like it's tough.
It's
speaking
hard.
of tough, Annabelle was a scary movie, Roxy. Before we get too deep into it, do you want to give a little plot recap for anybody who might be listening at the scary basement door who has not seen the film?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's give a plot recap.
All right. The movie Annabelle opens on a horrible doll, one that just, why would they make it? Who could ever love it? It's way too big. It's looking like it played volleyball in junior college with a creepy smile and big eyes, and it's just the worst doll. We then hear from a bunch of nurses who now own this doll, and they wonder where their mother found it in the first place.
Then we flash back to 1967. I guess we're going to see where her mom found it. So buckle up. We meet a couple named John and Mia and their neighbors, the Higginses. Mia is pregnant, John is in med school, and the Higginses are still dealing with the loss of their daughter, who 2 years ago ran off to join a hippie cult.
Only that cult got a little more demonic as time went on. One night, Annabelle, who is the daughter of the Higginsons, Annabelle Higgins and her boyfriend break into the Higginsons' home and murder her parents before sneaking into John and Mia's home. There, the boyfriend stabs Mia in the side before John can fight him off, while Annabelle finds that awful, horrible doll. The police show up to save John and Mia, but not before Annabelle can commit suicide while holding the doll, letting a drop of blood fall into its porcelain eye socket.
Mia ends up okay, but is put on bed rest for the rest of her pregnancy. She makes her husband promise that if something goes wrong in the delivery, John will prioritize the baby's life over hers. John reluctantly agrees. Mia then tells the detective investigating the case that she doesn't want to hear any more about these gosh damn occultists. Screw knowing why you were attacked. One weekend, when John is off at a fancy medical convention, someone, Annabelle, possibly, turns on the stove and starts a fire in the kitchen. Mia makes it out and gives birth to a baby named Leah.
The family then moves to Pasadena, where we can all one day dream we will end up. Here we meet Evelyn, who both lives in the same building as Mia and owns the nearby bookstore. Evelyn acts very grandmotherly towards baby Leah, buying her books and clothes. We soon learn that Evelyn's daughter passed away when she was Mia's age, and when Evelyn tried to kill herself after the tragedy, she heard her daughter's voice telling her that she had more left to do in the world.
Now, even though John threw that rotten, disgusting-looking doll in the trash back at their old house, it shows up in the new home. Soon thereafter, Mia tries to do laundry in the basement when a goddamn demon pops out of the baby carriage and chases her back to the apartment. Mia has no choice but to get back in touch with the detective and find out, this time for real, what the occultists were up to. I guess she does care about why she was attacked. And maybe...
fool me once.
Yeah, shame on me. I see a demon in a baby carriage. Not gonna fool me twice.
Mia and Evelyn begin researching, learning that the doll isn't so much haunted by the ghost of Annabelle, but by a demon who wants to take a soul. Could that soul belong to baby Leah? Mia and John then contact their priest, Father Perez, who comes over and takes the doll, thinking it will weaken the demon to be held in a place as sacred as the church. But just as Father Perez reaches the church's threshold, Annabelle's ghost force pushes the old man off the steps and takes the doll, I don't know, somewhere else. She just picks it up and goes.
I like to think it's scampering off because it's possessed. It's a very funny mental image. A little leg swing because she doesn't have bones.
I think it's one of those like Wile E. Coyotes where her legs are just like in a circle. There's like,
yeah.
Boom, and then it's just a cloud of dust shaped like the Annabelle ghost.
Wafts over Father Perez's corpse. But he's actually not a corpse. At the hospital, Father Perez tells John that the demon in the doll doesn't want the baby's soul, it wants Mia's soul, and will try and trick her into choosing to hand her soul over to it to save her baby. Back home, baby Leah vanishes, and Mia fights back the only way she knows how, by kinda screaming and demanding her baby back. When she asks what the beast wants, she finds the words, her soul, scribbled all over the ceiling. Gee, I wonder what it wants.
It's like finding the demon's Christmas list.
Yeah. He put it on there like 3 times.
I definitely had a Christmas list in 1996. It was like, what do you want? And I just wrote N64 over and over. N64, N64, N64. It's like, this is what I want. When Mia mutters, there must be another way, she sees written on the window the words, your soul. Then the window opens. Mia takes that filthy, revolting-looking doll and climbs up into the window. John gets home just in time to stop her from jumping out the window and killing herself. But man, is Mia upset. John promised he would prioritize the baby's life over Mia's, and that goes for souls too.
Finally, Evelyn realizes her purpose, that by surviving her own suicide attempt, she now has a chance to act. This moment, when she can grab the gut-churning, vile-looking doll and save the family by falling backwards out of the window to her death. Mia and John will always remember her sacrifice.
Bum, bum, bum. And then 6 months later, we just see some random woman buying the doll from a pawn shop.
Yeah.
I thought Mia was going to be the mom who gave the doll to her kid. So it's like, why did we see those stupid nurse people at the beginning of the movie? Like, they weren't involved in the movie until this last scene.
Destroy it? Why didn't they set it on fire? They knew what it did. They knew what it was. How did it end up there? We'll never know.
Unbelievable.
No actual explanation.
The movie Annabelle. Yeah. That is the movie Annabelle. It's listen, it's a movie that I thought was almost too scary to be a movie. I was so afraid of this entire movie.
Oh my God. Okay. I guess it just like hit you right.
If we didn't have to watch it to save our souls, I probably would have turned it off. Like, I probably wouldn't have watched this movie on my own. It was too scary for me.
Really? Okay. I guess maybe just like the Blumhouse style of horror really gets you.
Yeah, the way these jump scares work. And I think we talked about it on a previous episode that like The Conjuring specifically is really good at building jump scares. And this is like the same kind of team, right? These are the Conjuring.
It's like in the same universe. It's not really the same directorial or writing team or anything. It's just kind of under that umbrella so they can sell more tickets. It's the Conjureverse.
Because the way these jump scares work in this movie, it's super effective and it gets me every time. And
they're
like
kind
we've
of
talked about this
all
before.
over the place, yeah.
I am susceptible to jump scares.
Yes.
And this movie is full of them in ways that like is really upsetting to me.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think I had kind of the opposite reaction because all of these Blumhouse movies feel exactly the same and like they feel like they're formulaic in the fact that they have to have a certain amount of jump scares every some odd minutes. So every time we see a character sitting on a couch or something and they've panned over a little to the side, they're off center, I'm like, yeah, okay, they're going to do a jump scare there. And then they do. So I think like after you see them enough, it probably won't affect you, but I would much rather be where you're at, Mikey, and like they actually affect you and you can actually take enjoyment from them.
Dude, it was too much.
Because I had the opposite effect and the movie felt too long and I was bored by it by the end of it. And then I was like, of course they kill off the only black character in the movie, have her sacrifice herself for white people. Why would you make this choice? Could have at least just made her white so it didn't stick out as weird and tropey.
We just talked about tropes before. The thing that this movie was kind of hitting for me really early on was this like the magic black woman trope.
Oh yeah, for 110% they have this.
Evelyn kind of functions as this like visionary, like she's like, I've had my experiences with the other side, and she kind of takes her in and
has a bookshop that has the demon book in it and stuff. And
she definitely
grandmotherly.
She functions as the movie's goddess. She's the one who reveals ultimately to Mia the path forward, which is to research really and figure out what is going on, because I think there is something really interesting going on in this movie that they talk about a lot but never gets like cleanly resolved, but the idea of like burying truths. The priest in the middle of the movie gives like a sermon about like we have to take all of our most frightening moments and pull them up into the light and examine them and look at them.
There is several sermon scenes also, which act in movies very much like classroom scenes, where they're like, "We're going to tell you the goal of the movie. This is the
theme of the movie.
Here's the theme."
This movie, you're right, this movie has a couple of them.
Yeah, there's like 3 maybe, I think, that I can remember specifically.
It's very like force-fed. And that's why, like, I don't know, I really love this movie. I feel like there was a lot to chew on, and I don't know, it could be getting into the territory of like, this sparked an idea in my brain that the movie wasn't trying to communicate, but that I am really intrigued by.
Okay. And that has merit, even if the movie isn't outright saying it. I'd say it has merit to you personally, but we can't attribute it to the movie's credit. So.
No. I feel like a movie is either successful if they have a mission statement and then they get a check mark at the end because enough audience members were able to write out the one-sentence theme and turn it in to their senators who approved it.
You know, they're the lawfully designated horror quiz recipients, graders.
No, you're right. That's like the joy of art is that it's just like a bunch of ideas and they inspire ideas in you.
And I think it's completely valid to be able to take something away that even if the movie didn't succeed at it, it led to an epiphany or idea within you. And like, yeah, you credit yourself with that, not the movie. It might have been a catalyst, but it is not the credit of the movie.
No, I'm brilliant. Here's my grand working theory of Annabelle.
Okay.
And what I thought the movie was really clearly heading towards, and then at the end they just don't do anything with it. So this movie, the first upsetting thing that happens is that a neighbor couple is murdered by their child.
Yeah, so I will say this is actually the part that freaked me out because real people violence like this freaks me out much more than like a demon, which I think you probably get freaked out by all of it, but specifically I get more freaked out by that.
You're right. I am a coward, Roxy.
No,
Thank
I don't
you.
want to say like you weren't scared by this because you're just about to talk about how scary it was. So in your ranking of what you were most scared by, I'm sure it's somewhere around there.
It's really it's jump scares and then it's giants and then everything else is pretty much the same.
There you go.
Real life and demons.
But yeah, like kind of the way they paced it, because you only sort of see it briefly and like out of the corner of your eye, like the main character does, because they're right next to it. And like you have no idea what is going on or why. And it happens so suddenly. And especially they're like in picturesque suburbia in the 60s that looks like it's out of a magazine. You know, it feels like the place where nothing bad should be able to happen to you. Because it almost feels like idyllic in an unreal way. And you just met these old people who are like, old, they're not like super old, but they're like older than our main character couple. They're like very kind.
And they're just like kindly.
Yeah, they're kindly. They're basically like, they feel like they're other family members or something, kind of like they're that close. They go to church together. They drive to and from together. They hang out. They're very concerned about, oh yeah, make sure you take care of her. Like, you know, baby on the way, all that. So like you wouldn't expect the nicest people in the world who are suffering from loss also that you found that you assume the daughter is like dead until they kind of elaborate that, oh no, she like ran off. So, like, it does take you by surprise when suddenly they're murdered in their room across the way. And, like, you don't see the action happening. It's more of in a voyeuristic way from our main couple's window, which I think is what makes it much scarier because you're not seeing the action up close and personal. And it's almost, like, callous and mysterious in this very brutal way. So I'd say, like, that part really worked for me.
Yeah, no, me too. It was so upsetting. And the idea that we are like lingering in our main character's house and seeing it happen, like it not only puts us in that perspective, but it frames that violence as like how it's happening to these characters that we are already invested in. And it makes it very scary. Yeah,
because you don't know what's going to happen. And then eventually they do break in and come next door too. Although it's really ridiculous when she's like, I heard screaming next door. We should call the police. And then the husband is like, nah, I'll just go check it out in my bare feet and like my pajamas. That sounds like a good idea.
That's very funny you say that because I was totally on the dude's side. And then I was like, yeah, just go check out the scream first. And then because my brain would be like, oh yeah, she probably slipped and grabbed the curtains as she fell kind of thing. Like she's probably just like freaked out over nothing. So I was like, yeah, totally. You wouldn't call the police yet.
Okay. Yeah, I would have definitely done that if I heard screaming from my neighbor's house.
You call the police a lot.
Yeah, that's something I gotta curb my impulse to do, so maybe that's a me problem.
So one thing that happens even before all this is part of the evidence I'm going to use to build this case that this movie could be about this idea I had.
Okay.
The two couples go to church together, and then the older woman asks Mia, who is pregnant at the time, she has baby names, and they kind of talk about it for a second. And then as they go their separate ways, Mia says to John, she's just like, maybe we shouldn't talk about babies in front of them. And they're like, why? And then that's how we kind of get this backstory, like their daughter just ran away. But Mia's reaction, Mia's instinct is to not talk about something that happened. It's to avoid the truth, avoid some facts, avoid reality, which we will also see when she talks to the detective. The detective's like, we know a little bit more. And she's like, honestly, if it doesn't affect us, I don't want to know. I want to, again, not talk about the facts.
Crazy to me. Wouldn't you want to know why you were almost killed, lady? Okay. But yeah, I think it's in service to this thing you're talking about.
Again, I was right on Mia's side. I was like, oh yeah, if it's not going to affect me, I wouldn't want to know either. I'd be like, yeah, who cares? Y'all do you.
No, you got stabbed and almost died because of it.
Then we also have the pastor who gives that sermon, like, our job is to take these frightening truths and bring them into the light. Like, the movie is working towards, there are uncomfortable things that happen, and we don't do well by avoiding them. We do well by focusing on them. The way Mia starts getting on the trail of this demon is by finally going to the detective and talking to him. And so here's what I thought this movie was about. Roxy, I thought this movie was about the evolutionary fact that our children equal our own demise.
What? Oh, okay.
By giving birth to children, we are in a way, we fundamentally acknowledging that our time here is infinite, that we are going to die,
or finite.
We are going to end. And in a mythological sense, in a not literal sense, but in a what does this act of creating a human life mean for me as a person? Our children eat us. Right? We give birth to our children and they are there to take our place in the world. That's why so many like stories of Greek myths are about like killing your father, because you are in essence, in terms of the place in the world, in terms of the hierarchical structure of generations, you are eliminating your parents. You are taking their life. And we see that made literal in the opening horrific moment of this movie, when a daughter comes in and murders her mother and father. We see it happen. And it's this very, like, visceral fear, like, and then immediately, like 2 or 3 scenes later, our main character gives birth to a baby. And they never acknowledge throughout the entire movie the fact that at some point the Higginsons gave birth to a baby sweet as this baby. They, at one point, had a little daughter that they loved just as much as Mia and John loved their daughter. And this baby grew up to murder her. This is a horrifying idea. And then, Roxy, when Mia goes down into the basement, she finds a bassinet and a demon rises from it. It is literally a demon in a baby basket. I felt like this movie was about Mia not being able to accept the idea that her daughter could very well murder her. Again, both in a literal sense, because we saw it in the movie, and that's like a pretty common A to B thing, like, oh, it's very scary that a woman just came and murdered her mom. I have a daughter, and I have uncomfortable feelings about this. I just went through a specific trauma related to this. But also, the fact that I've given birth to a little girl who is going to take my place and is going to be there for me at my death. In some way, I am forced by having this child to stare my mortality in the face. And these are uncomfortable feelings. We've talked about this through so many other movies where women are not expected to have any sort of critical response to being a parent. That's why I love The Babadook, because it's about a woman who doesn't really like being a mother anymore. And that's a realistic feeling to have and to process and to get through and to continue being a mother, not to say she should not be a mother, but to have these feelings and deal with them, as the priest tells us to bring them out into the light. We have all of this evidence that Mia is having these uncomfortable feelings and is completely ignoring them, and then can get to a point where she gets comfortable with the idea of letting her daughter, metaphorically in place of society, and maybe even literally, because she's willing to jump out a window for her, to die for her child the same way this Higgins lady did at the beginning. I'm sorry to go on a long, impassioned rant about it, but it just seemed like such a cool idea that I've never seen really talked about in a movie, and it seemed like they were going for it, and then kind of it just doesn't happen. Nothing comes of it.
Yeah, that's why I just let you keep going, because I was like, it's really cool you got this from this movie, but I don't think the movie was trying to say that at all. And yeah, they don't. The characters are so flat and wooden to me that I feel like your brain was like, no, people wrote this and spent time on it. There has to be more going on. And so your brain did the gymnastics to do that.
I will say it's very unusual to me if, again, we didn't have all this evidence of Mia ignoring specific facts. It's very unusual. I think it's
just her being written as an idiot. Like, none of the characters in this movie feel smart. None of them feel very developed. They all feel kind of like tropey, cardboard, cookie cutter things you've seen a million times.
I mean the very specific, like, she is acknowledging, like, there are truths in the world we should ignore. They're giving sermons. Like, I mean, her, like, the character lines. For her to do all that and to never acknowledge the fact that, like, it's really fucked up for a daughter to break into a house and stab a mother. Like, they never talk about that if the movie's not going to be about that. So, like, I feel like if they were going, like, it's sort of glossed over in a way that, again, sent me down this giant rabbit hole that, again, I think you're right, the movie does not mean for me to go down.
Yeah.
Then it's like an error. It's like an unforced error to not acknowledge that, like, that's what's kind of really specifically horrifying about it, that their little girl did this. I feel like the biggest,
the most straightforward thing I took away from it is just corruption of innocence. You have the corruption of this doll that is supposed to be a symbol of, like, a child who... Initially, when you see it, it's not creepy, but, like, before it gets all fucked up looking in the garbage and the fire, it looks more kind of like a traditional kind of, like, porcelain doll, albeit a little bit larger than you would think. But you see it's part of, like, a series of maybe 3 or 4 dolls.
Not giving it to you, Roxy. That's a horrible doll, even at the beginning.
No, I'm trying to say it is creepy, but it seemed more like that's something I would expect to come out of the time period instead of, like, a studio made the creepiest doll possible. Which doesn't say it's not creepy, it just felt less manufactured to be like, yeah, sure. And then obviously once it goes in the trash, it looks like absolute nightmare fuel. And it's like, why would you keep this around just because you were written to keep it around, you idiots? Because we need to have a movie about a scary doll. But, like, it starts off as just a doll that was a innocent present from the husband to the wife. She collects dolls. It's part of the set she was looking for. It's like an expensive thing. He says, like, well, we're going to have to, like, kind of tighten our belts for a couple months, but it's fine. Yeah. I knew you wanted it.
A doctor couldn't afford this.
Apparently. A doctor in the 60s. Yeah. And so it isn't until that daughter who has been corrupted by the cult and decides to choose her killing her family and giving into this demonic cult. That's when it turns evil, like when that act happens. So the doll's innocence has been corrupted. And so this demon is in the house and it's trying to corrupt Mia, who is, like, very purely wanting to sacrifice herself for her child, and the child is, like, obviously the ultimate expression of innocence. It hasn't had a chance to do anything to be, like, worthy of sin or whatever. And so it's kind of like showing how it's using that, like, the corruption of innocence to twist a knife to make Mia do what it wants to get the thing it wants.
I think you're right. I think you're right in saying that, like, this movie is thinking about it in, like, a very, like, hero-villain sort of way. It's
like, it feels a lot more...
As opposed to, like...
surface level.
What my brain does, and, like, what movies like Hellraiser do, right? Like, Hellraiser is my favorite horror movie because it's very clearly about, like, a specific familial structure, and the horror is birthed out of, like, how this family has interacted with each other. And I do think, like, I think that's certainly, like, better horror. Like, the fact that I love this movie with my whole heart and you don't like it, like, yeah, that tracks.
Yeah, I think it just feels, like, very cookie cutter and, like, something I've seen before. Like I said, kind of the scene where the neighbors get killed, I think that's the most interesting, different thing it does.
Yeah.
In a way. And then, like, again, like you were saying, that act kind of captured your imagination, too, where it kind of started you on that rabbit hole to think about all these other things.
Mm-hmm.
Probably just set it to its credit. Like, that's one of the more interesting scenes that way, I guess. And it's something that makes it kind of stand out, and, like, maybe it's trying to say something about that, and then, yeah, it kind of falls short by never really saying anything about that.
It's bizarre. I went into this movie thinking it was going to be, like, the doll is alive and, like Child's Play, but with, like, a less silly and personable soul in the doll and more like an evil demon in a doll. And I feel like this movie doesn't get much out of the doll stuff.
Yeah, it's completely wasted, which I thought it was funny because you texted me a question about, like, when we were going to open the tomb, who were we going to meet? And you were like, what does this Annabelle doll sound like? Like, how many times does this demon say something? And I had to break it to you to be like, it literally says nothing.
It doesn't talk.
It doesn't talk.
Why doesn't the doll talk?
And, like, they only do a couple of interesting things with it being a doll where, like, it it's sitting in one room and then it like stands up and runs at her and then becomes like a full human, like the girl who possessed it, essentially, which I thought that was kind of an interesting scare idea.
Doll. That was like a little girl who runs.
Yeah,
and then when
exactly.
she hits the door, she turns into an adult. And that was like a cool jump scare.
Yeah, but it's not even related to the doll. So like this one thing I can be like, that's kind of an interesting idea. It's not even related to the doll. I guess when the demon picks it up and it's floating,
left on that doll bone.
Yeah, I think also it feels like it copies this scene that Insidious did much better, where it's holding up the doll and then you see the half of the demon's face behind the doll. Mm-hmm. And it's like more pulled out and not as interesting looking, and it isn't as much of a surprise. And it's like, guys, you already did this in the Insidious movie. I get that was like an impactful scare, but come on, man. And it's just like holding it there.
It was such an upsetting scene because it looked like the doll was finally getting up. And I literally out loud, when I'm watching this, I was like, fuck yeah, here we go. The doll's about to go fuck shit up. And no, it was just a demon holding. Like, a demon almost feels like a non sequitur in this movie.
Yes,
like,
it does.
If the doll's going to be possessed by a demon, that's great. But, like, I don't really want to see a nightmare ghoul monster in a movie about scary dolls. The doll should be scary. Like, if the doll was doing that and chasing her, that'd be kind of scary.
And I think I'd like that more because that's more entertaining. It's a much more interesting interpretation. Instead of, because then you're taking the focus away from the boring ass human characters and you get to have the doll do something. They seem way more boring because we waste so much time on them just like sitting around, plinking around, doing whatever, where we could have been seeing the doll get up to hijinks or something. Like, it makes me want to rewatch Chucky, all the Chucky movies instead of fucking Annabelle. Let's just watch Chucky again.
In response to how boring the human characters are, I agree 98% of the time. They have one line that I think was very funny and couldn't believe they said in this movie.
Oh.
And it's right before the husband, John, gives Mia the doll, gives her the Annabelle doll. He goes, "Hey, there's something I want to give you." And he walks out of the room and she says, "Last time you said that, I ended up pregnant." So
he said that.
Was she talking about his cum?
Also, while they're having sex, he said that, like, in the throes of passion. He's like, "Hey, I want to give you something."
Hey, there's something I want to give you. And then he ejaculates. And then it's over. That's a crazy line.
What are you talking about? That's a sexy line, Mikey. That doesn't get you off. That gets Mia, the character, off. She loves that. Or at least it gets him off enough for them to now have a baby. I guess I shouldn't speak for her.
There's something I want to give you.
Why would you say that? Also, that makes it seem like, okay, yeah, the baby wasn't planned. That's why the husband is a little, like, whatever about stuff when she's talking about the baby at one point. Which is weird. Like, they barely even touch on that. It's, like, kind of for a second, and she's, like, mad about it. And he's like, "No, sorry, I just, like, misspoke." Which I think it's normal to have anxieties about that. But, like, as long as overall, like, you can voice your anxieties to your partner. Like, being scared or, worrying about something, that doesn't mean that, like, oh, I'm worried about the baby coming doesn't mean I don't also want the baby to be here. Like, that's not what he's saying. Like, what?
What a cool arc it would be for Mia to realize, oh, you have an uncomfortable feeling. Instead of ignoring it, you should talk about it. I have an uncomfortable feeling about maybe my baby's going to murder me and I should talk about it. What a cool arc that would be. It was more evidence that they were doing. I feel like the first half of this movie fucking rules.
She feels like she doesn't emote. She's just like the idealized mother who would sacrifice everything for her child. That's just her character. She has nothing else going on. And I wish, Mikey, so much that she did have something more complex going on in her head.
It would be very cool if they reveal
for that.
If they like reveal that was like all a front. That was her like not being willing to like examine her own feelings.
Yeah,
that she says.
Like if she was so far down that like stereotypical like I need to be the ideal housewife mother who would do anything for my child, going to sacrifice my life entirely. I have no interests or motivations beyond this child. If she was playing into that because she thought she had to and then realized, no, I actually have more complex feelings about this. Let's say something about
I'm also worried about my career. I'm worried about my doll collection. I'm worried my baby is going to ruin my dolls. Would be very funny.
I'm worried my husband isn't going to be completely supportive of this because he's showing some anxiety. Like he's going to be, once he becomes not a med student and a doctor, is he still going to be around? Is he still going to be supportive? Like nothing like that gets touched on, and they waste so much time that they could have spent doing something like that. So I like this version of the movie that you write, Mike. I wish you had written it.
This is maybe off tangent, but they're currently airing the Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi story.
Yes.
And for years and years, I've said my dream writing project would be to write a reboot of the Star Wars prequels.
Oh,
because
really?
I
this
think
is the
that,
first time I'm hearing this. How is that? Okay, well, anyway, sorry.
Really?
I want to hear this. Go for it.
I think that the 3-movie story of Obi-Wan Kenobi trying to train a young Jedi and failing and having to come face to face with it is awesome. But like, you turn him into Darth Vader at the end of the second movie. The third movie is about him, like, again, that looking at his failure. He has seen what's happened.
Oh, your idea would be that he became Darth Vader in the second movie?
That's what I would do, yeah. And so this Obi-Wan Kenobi show opens. The first episode, I think, is incredible, but also like really dispiriting to me because I was like, this is exactly what my episode 3 would have been. This is what I think episode 3 should have been. Obi-Wan Kenobi is a defeated man, and what could he possibly do? All that is to say, now that I just had my dream reboot taken away from me because they're kind of doing it in the Obi-Wan show, now my new dream reboot is Annabelle. And it's going to be about the evolutionary process of children eating their parents and why Greek mythology is all about that. And the doll's going to be alive also is the other thing.
Yes, please do. Please give her anything to say. Like, if you watch the other 2 sequels, like, I've only seen the second one as well. Like, that's actually the first Annabelle movie I saw was the second one. I don't know why. Maybe because it was, like, for free on Netflix one time and then it went away. It was terrible. And then there was a third one that I don't even know if I heard about whether people liked it or not because I was not paying attention to it. But there's 3 of these somehow. I honestly forgot there was 3 until we were doing this. So, hey, they've done their Annabelle trilogy. They're in time for a reboot, Mikey, and you should be able to write it.
I am ready. I'm here for it.
Do it. I
Roxy,
should also say this director directed Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Did you know that? More like fuck no. It's so bad.
Dude, that was like my number 1 favorite movie to rent when I was a little kid.
Was it? Wait,
I don't know if I ever finished it. I thought that movie ruled.
Okay.
I rented it a bunch and like watched it in chunks. I don't know if I ever like sat through the entire movie. But I just have so many moments of it that I just remember so well. For instance, Jax ripping off his own metal arms because he had the strength within him all along.
Wow, okay. Why did he have to rip off his metal arms? I don't even remember.
Yeah, the lightning god was just like, oh, this is a distraction.
Wow. Maybe we should make an exception to watch Mortal Kombat Annihilation one of these days.
Honestly, I'm not opposed to it.
Oh my god. Well, Mikey, I have a question for you.
All right, give it to me.
Okay, so my question, it's a very important question. I want you to think very thoroughly about it.
Okay, yeah.
What would you do, Mikey, if you found an Annabelle out in the wild somewhere in a gift shop, per se, like the lady at the end of the movie who was just ham-fistedly jammed in there?
Well, okay. I'm assuming that, like, I'm cursed by it, right? Like, it's going to follow me around. It's going to be...
Maybe. I mean, you're making the choice of what you want to do with it, I guess, right?
Okay, well, I would not buy it,
okay.
first of all. But assuming that, like, I don't really have a choice, I think that's the question, right? Like...
Sure, yeah.
If we're in an Annabelle situation.
Yeah. It's been given to you, I guess.
Breaker 10-4, we got an Annabelle 45 over here. Okay, here's my plan to deal with an Annabelle. And maybe I'd do this even if I just saw it at the gift shop.
Okay.
I'll buy it.
The sky's the limit, Mikey. What the question can be whatever you want it to be.
Here's the thing. I'm going to chop this Annabelle up with an axe.
Ah, okay.
And then, I'm not even done. I'm going to put it in a blender.
Okay.
I'm going to grind that Annabelle into nothing.
Turn it into dust.
And then I'm going to go to Quebec, Canada.
Okay.
And I'm going to pour Annabelle in a field.
Okay.
And I'm going to, like loosely, like not a heavy pour, right? Like it'll be like spritzes of Annabelle all over the field. And it's just like, okay, got it. You're a demon. You're cursed. You're not even corporeal. There's no way. I understand that it's like magic and it's outside of the realm of man that this curse works. But you're chopped up in a blender. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it couldn't even fix itself after it got damaged from the fire. So I'd say that's a legit move. It can't repair itself. It's
literally sludge in a field.
It can only move itself. It can't repair itself. So yeah, I'd say that works. Do it.
What would you do if you saw an Annabelle, Roxy?
So if I got an Annabelle, Mikey, what I would do is I would put it in a box. I would wrap it up real tight. Use some packing tape and stuff. And then I'd put
that's powerful.
A label on it with no return address. And then I would send it to you. It would arrive at your house. Right at Mikey's house, it would have a cryptic note that said something like, "I have come for you, Mikey," when you open it.
That's fucked up. Why would you do that?
Because it's not possessed. It's just a fucking doll. You'd be fine. But I know it would scare the shit out of you and it would be really funny. You'd be like, Roxy, oh my God.
Oh my God.
I got an Annabelle on my doorstep. How?
You're right. That would absolutely scare me.
And then you get to grind her up in the blender and do your blender tactic. So it's all good. I know you'd take care of it just fine.
Okay. Listen. It happened to work out. If you didn't know, I had like a really good strategy to deal with the Annabelle. Yeah. What you just said was really fucked up. But the fact that you did means that God does not test us with more than we can handle. In this story, you are God.
Also, as far as I know, your life hasn't been produced by Studio Blumhouse, so probably not a real demon in that doll.
What?
But sorry to break it to you. It's not a Truman-style show produced by Blumhouse. You're hearing it
here. What, are you saying
it's
dull? It's not worthy of film?
No, it's produced by a different company. It's probably whoever makes sitcoms, right? We know this about you.
Oh, yeah, NBC.
NBC, there you go.
Roxy, on a scale from 1 to 9, 1 being the least likely, 9 being the most likely, it does not include 10 because the number 10 does not exist in the scary basement. How likely do you think the events of the film Annabelle are to happen in real life?
So I guess a 2 out of 9. Purely on the fact that, like, the random killings, like the cult killings from the opening kind of scenes, stuff like that has literally happened. The Manson family is a thing. That happened once. But everything else, I'd say nah, so only 2 out of 9.
It's our old hat on a hat thing, right? It's
like
one crazy thing can happen, 2 crazy things to happen on top of each other. It feels a little iffy.
Yeah.
I said a 1.
Oh, okay.
For that reason, and also here's the other reason, I just don't believe anybody would ever be able to have an emotional attachment to dolls. Not just even that doll. I just don't buy somebody liking dolls that much.
I have some YouTube videos to show you then, Mikey. There's ones about...
Should I change it to a 2?
There's ones about people, like, having collections or being, like, obsessed with things. I mean, there's, like, stories about a dude marrying his anime body pillow, and that's not even a doll. So,
Here's the thing, though. Here's what, when in the movie, when John gives Mia the Annabelle doll, he like you mentioned, he says something like, we're gonna have to tighten our belt for the next month. And I was thinking, it's like the only thing I buy that makes me go like, oh, I gotta tighten my belt is when I like finally bit the bullet and bought a PlayStation 5. And so I was like, are these dolls the 1960s version of video games? Does this woman have an insane doll collection in the same way I have an insane video game collection? And in 60 years, people are gonna look at my insane video game collection and be like, I just don't believe people would ever be that emotionally attached to video games.
Maybe. There's like this weird TV show that focuses entirely on things like this. There's a dude who is obsessed with mannequins to the point that he bought a second house literally to put mannequins in there.
Ooh.
And there's another one about a couple. It's a husband and a wife. They've got a huge collection of sex dolls, and they have a bunch of like shipping containers where they store them all, and some of them are like in coffin-shaped boxes.
I get that. Yeah, I've got a bunch of sex dolls.
The wife is okay with it though, which is I don't know how. So there's all kinds of stuff like that about people being unnaturally attached to things, or just I don't know. When you think about when you're a kid, you have that one favorite toy that you love.
You know what, Roxy, you've convinced me. I'm moving my score up to a 2 out of 10.
Okay, sorry. I don't know why I went so long on this. It's not important. No. It's just some fun facts.
You're right. I got to know. Roxy, last week we made a bet. We asked, how many times would the word doll be said in the movie Annabelle? I said 11 times. Yeah,
and I said 10. So your price is right at me this week.
I did, and it was a huge mistake because Roxy... Oh? According to the PDF of the script, it is said 7 times.
Oh, okay.
7 times. So...
I win.
You win. The total bet score as it stands. Roxy with 22 points. Mikey with 19 points. Ty with 2. We are getting close because, as we all know, something happens at 30.
Oh, man, I'm getting close. Mikey, you got to win a couple more times. I don't know what we're going to do.
I'm going to try.
Okay.
Roxy, we're going to once again open the interview tomb and speak to a noted expert in the field of... who knows? The point is, it'll be something Annabelle related. Remember, when the interview tomb is opened, someone relevant to the movie we just watched will be inexplicably and supernaturally drawn to the scary basement to talk with us.
All right, let's see who's inside.
Okay, we got a professionally dressed man in here. Who are you?
Hi, my name's Dr. Royland Houghton. I'm an expert in living toys and dolls.
That's perfect. We just watched Annabelle.
A surprisingly well-regarded movie in the field of living toy and doll experts. You know, it got a lot of details right vis-a-vis dolls who are also alive.
Tell us, Doctor, what is it that makes these dolls and toys come to life in the first place?
A couple different reasons, really. I mean, best case scenario is deceased family member wants to watch over a child, you know. Evil demons do enter toys, of course, but those are rare. But, you know, the number one cause of dolls coming to life is little boys playing pro wrestling on them.
Really? Dolls come to life because kids play with them.
Not just play, no. Play pro wrestling. See, these little boys act out their favorite moves or slams or maneuvers, what have you, on their toys and dolls. But there's only so much those poor toys and dolls can take. So they come to life and oftentimes murder and or possess an entire family.
Well, I mean, kids will be kids, right? It can't be that big a deal if a kid decides to play pro wrestling with his stuffed animals, right?
Michael, let me be clear. Absolutely no child should ever play pro wrestling with their toys. That means no power bombs on the couch, no practicing the figure 4 leg lock with a particularly leggy doll, even pretending to be Hulk Hogan and dropping a leg on a toy on the bed should be avoided at all costs.
Hang on a second, Doctor. Are you saying the toys are alive and feel the wrestling moves? Like some kind of Toy Story deal?
Don't be ridiculous. These toys were not alive. Then they are. And they're brought to life by the shame of having pro wrestling moves done to them with no chance to do pro wrestling moves back. Very lopsided between little boys and their toys in terms of who gets in the most offense.
To be honest with you, Doc, I definitely had a teddy bear when I was a kid. His name was Mr. Bear. And man, I suplexed the shit out of him.
You did what?
I'd take Mr. Bear, I'd throw him around, give him the DDT. Sometimes I'd even throw him in the air and give him a super kick like Shawn Michaels.
Wait. You gave your bear a super kick like the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels? Jesus Christ, did it come to life?
Well, not that I know of. I mean, a lot of my friends disappeared that summer. I haven't seen my stepdad since.
So how did you make it out alive?
As I'm thinking about it, there was a time I let Mr. Bear give me a hurricanrana. I set him up for the power bomb, and then when he had his little bear legs on my shoulders, I just did a forward roll. To be clear, it looked cool.
Oh my god, that does sound cool. Wait a minute. These toys can be satiated if they're allowed to simply, pardon my language, get their shit in? Oh my god, this changes everything about my research. There are countless lives I can save if children simply learn to sell an RKO from their dolls. Guys, I'm sorry, I have to go.
All right, well, the doctor has left the building.
I think you gave him a lot to think about, Mikey. You've somehow solved all doll possession forever. So any movie that has a possessed doll in it, they didn't read this dude's thesis.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm brilliant.
Yeah, apparently when it comes to suplexing a teddy bear, yes, I can safely say it.
One thing I could never suplex, because he's too big and made of metal, is the demon bot.
He's coming over. I see him.
Mikey and Roxy, are you prepared for Halloween 2?
Roxy, we forgot to talk about this. Next week is Halloween 2.
It's Halloween 2. Oh my god, I'm so excited.
Whatever you are going to do for Halloween 1 in October, you're going to do it on July 15th for Halloween 2. Dress up in costumes, get candy, watch scary movies, invite your friends over, spook them.
Yeah,
Halloween 2, baby.
It's a fun idea to have, or a fun day to have an extra party that you didn't think you would be able to have. So hell yeah. Party it up with your friends. Do something fun. And listen to our podcast next week while we also celebrate Halloween 2 together.
And because it is Halloween 2, you shall be assigned a fun party movie in order to enjoy the holiday.
Roxy, this is exciting. Next week, a fun Halloween party with all the monsters in the scary basement, including Chucky and Jason and Hellraisers.
Heck yeah. So, Demonbot, which movie are we going to watch?
Your film shall be Hocus Pocus from 1993, starring Sarah Jessica Parker, Kathy Najimy, and Thora Birch.
Yes, I love Hocus Pocus. This is wonderful. I can't wait.
Cool. I I have never seen Hocus Pocus.
I don't understand how you've never seen it, Mikey. It's like the quintessential horror, kids horror movie. Horror-themed movie, I should say, I guess. It is so fun. I didn't even have Disney Channel growing up as a kid, and I still watch this.
It was a Disney Channel jam, wasn't it?
I think so, or at least they aired it on Disney. I think it was a Disney movie. I don't think it was like Disney Channel original. I think it was probably in theaters and stuff. But I am so overjoyed for you to see this for the first time. I can't wait to hear what you think about it.
Let's make a bet for next week, huh?
Let's do it. Yeah. So how about we make a bet for when the first spell is cast in the movie, since there's some literal hocus pocus going on, as you might be able to guess.
So yeah, the timestamp of the first bit of Hocus Pocus.
Yeah.
I will say 11 minutes in.
Okay, I'm going to say 2 minutes.
Ooh, early.
Yeah.
Again, I could very well see, like, having not seen this movie and knowing nothing about it, I could see, like, the title of the movie coming across screen after, like, one of the witches waves her wand and it spells out in magic Hocus Pocus. Like,
I think I got so psyched out after because I actually just re-listened to our Candyman episode right before we recorded today, and I was like, yeah, the bees were in, like, the first 30 seconds of the movie. We were so wrong. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go early. So 2 minutes.
It really is a sign of a good movie that they're like getting into the fun thing fast. Like, if this movie is going to be about magic, just show us some magic. What are we waiting for?
Just show us some magic. The heck?
The pact has been sealed. I mean, the bet has been confirmed. Whoever is closest to the time of the first spell cast in the film shall be declared the winner. The winner will be the judge for the costume contest at the Halloween 2 party. I hear the Sawyer family came all the way from Texas to enter.
Roxy, we've been talking about a lot of scary things, including Annabelle dolls, demons, going to church.
And our children replacing us.
And our children eating us, metaphorically. Let's end by talking about something happy. What is making you happy this week?
Okay, I feel like I say this every week, but it will surprise no one for me to say it is video game related. Once again.
Yeah, video games.
So I started playing Metal Gear Rising Revengeance for the first time, like live on stream as well. And it has been an absolutely insane wild ride, and I'm so glad I'm playing it. It is...
Yeah?
It is so good, and it is so ridiculous. And a lot of the things it's covering are like just as valid now, even more so in some cases, than they were like back in 2013 when this game originally came out.
Wow. Prescient?
Yes, and it's fun and crazy. Like, you're playing as Raiden, who is this super crazy souped up ninja. It's made by Platinum Games, so it's like a extremely heavy action game. There's like a robot dog who is like a boss that you fight and then becomes your friend. The main villain is a senator from like Detroit or something. The music is insane and super fun, and it's like trying to say all kinds of different really interesting things about like pop culture and video games and just like kind of stuff at large and how we interpret and interact with stories, and especially things like video games that are interactive stories. So it's a Kojima game, but has like way more fun and intense flavor. Like, think of all the craziest things from Metal Gear, but they don't even have to try and make it like grounded in military realism. They're just having fun with it. It's like all of the fun parts of Metal Gear 24/7, 100 miles an hour. And I really wish they had done a sequel, or maybe someday they'll be able to do a sequel to it, or like some sort of successor in the same vibe and like style someday. But for the meantime, I'm having so much fun getting through it. Actually, tomorrow I'll be doing the last stream of it as well, so that's kind of dating when we're recording this, but I'll finally get to fight the senator and see what that's like. And he's going to tell me about his favorite memes. I have to fight the senator as he talks to me about memes. It's going to be insane.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of senators today are talking about memes.
They're not talking about memes.
They're focused on their constituents.
Yeah. So what's been making you happy this week, Mikey?
I will say I was this week walking through my neighborhood, going to grab a bite to eat, and I saw a family walking by, and they were walking with their kid. Okay. And this kid was wearing a t-shirt that I don't understand. Okay. But thought was very funny. It was Baby Yoda. All right. From one of many Star Wars t-shirts, or Star Wars TV shows. And this t-shirt said, for whatever reason, real big over Baby Yoda, "This is my good side." And And I didn't get it. I didn't know why. It's not like the baby Yoda was in profile, so it was like his right or his left side was his good side.
It never is. So I like Mandalorian a lot, and I've seen a lot of the merch because like I own some of it, and like in the throes of when I was first obsessed with it, I found a lady who would constantly buy stuff and be like, here's my Baby Yoda merch haul, because she was super obsessed with Baby Yoda, and still is to this day. And so many pieces of the like merch she would get would say that, and I'm like, I don't get it either. It's like he's the good side, like the light side?
What does that mean?
What does it mean? What does it mean?
I like about this shirt so much is that it's like, it's just a fact. This is my good side.
This front side, just the front is my good side.
And it's just like, all right, fair enough. Who am I to argue? That's just a fact of the world. That is his good side. Truly insane. Roxy, each week the demon bot hires a new monster to guard the basement door to keep us from escaping, and yet each week we still escape. This week I brought along a distractionary tactic.
Was it that t-shirt that child had? Did you get one yourself to distract the monster? Yeah. Because they'll be like, wait, what does it mean?
Yeah, I get the monster to sit down on like the curb and just be like, what could that,
you tell me what this means, and then I'll escape scampering in the background. And then I guess we'll stand there forever. Okay, what is it for real?
I brought a bucket of chum.
You know, chum? Fighting it's Jaws?
Like, it's like, yeah, that bloody slop. So here's my
thinking.
Yeah,
you use it to like have, is it specifically sharks or just like any catch in general, kind of like when you're fishing?
Well, unclear.
Okay.
But yeah, you like pour this slop in the water.
Either way, you use it with fishing of some kind. Yeah.
So here's my thinking is like, if what's guarding the scary basement this week is like a sea creature, like a creature from the Black Lagoon or some kind of walking shark, then in this chum, it's going to trick him.
Okay. I mean, that's a pretty specific choice, but I'll wait down here and see how you deal with that.
It's a gamble, to be sure.
Yeah.
Let's see if it's paid
off.
I'll
hold the door open for you in case you want to run.
Uh-oh. Roxy.
What is it?
Guarding the door this week is a serpentine beast with the head of a lion.
Oh.
And the body of a snake. Like from mythology. This chum isn't going to help at all.
I mean, it might still be into it. Why don't you ask?
All right, let me just pour it out. It doesn't even notice.
Oh, well, then maybe we can walk away? If it doesn't even notice you throwing that around, then it probably won't notice us walking away, right?
Yeah, it's kind of dead behind the eyes.
Okay, well, I learned some things in my playing Metal Gear, so I have a box for you. So here you go, unfold it, and we'll just sneak past in the boxes just to be extra safe. Okay. Oh shit!
Roxy, run!